Billionaire throws food at Waitress next day. His father shows up with Rolls-Royce keys. It was a busy Friday night at the Gilded Fork, the kind of upscale restaurant where chandeliers sparkled like ice and the air was thick with the scent of truffle butter. Maya, a young waitress in her mid-20s, moved from table to table with graceful efficiency. She worked double shifts to cover her younger brother's college fees and her mother's medical bills. Every smile she gave customers hid the exhaustion in her bones. That night, a table in the corner drew more than its share of attention. Tristan Vance, the notorious heir to the Vance real estate empire, lounged there with a group of equally entitled friends. Everyone in town knew him handsome, rich, and completely unbothered by the consequences of his actions. When Maya approached with their main course, Tristan frowned. "This steak is overcooked," he sneered without even tasting it. "I'm so sorry, sir. I'll have the chef prepare another." She didn't finish before it happened. Tristan picked up the plate and threw the entire steak sauce and onto her white blouse. The restaurant went silent. His friends laughed like hyenas. Maya froze. Her hands shook, but she didn't cry. She just looked at him and said softly, "I hope one day you find what's missing inside you." Then she walked away to change, pretending not to hear the whispers. The next day, the lunch shift was unusually quiet. Maya was polishing cutlery when a deep purr of an engine rolled up outside. Everyone turned toward the window. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped at the curb. Out stepped an older man in a perfectly tailored suit, silver hair gleaming in the sun. He had the same sharp jawline as Tristan, but his eyes held none of his cruelty. He walked straight into the restaurant and approached Maya. "Miss R. You Maya?" She nodded, confused. "I'm Alexander Vance, Tristan's father." The room went still again. He took a deep breath. "My son told me what he did last night. I raised him better than that. It was a disgrace to himself, to me, and to our name." He reached into his pocket and placed a set of keys on the table beside her. They gleamed under the chandelier light. "This is not a bribe," he said. "It's an apology. This car was meant for Tristan's birthday next week. I've decided it's yours. And as of this morning, he's working in our construction division until he learns the meaning of respect." Maya's mouth fell open. I can't accept this." "You can," Alexander said firmly. "Because last night you showed more dignity than my son ever has. I want you to remember that kindness and strength like yours deserve to be rewarded." Outside, the entire staff gathered around the gleaming Rolls-Royce as Maya sat behind the wheel for the first time. Inside, Alexander was already on the phone, no doubt calling his spoiled heir to tell him his new reality would not involve champagne, yachts, or VIP lounges for a very long time. As Maya drove away, the sunlight bounced off the hood, and for the first time in months, she smiled not because of the car, but because someone had finally reminded her that grace is power too. The Gilded Fork was the kind of restaurant where the cheapest entree cost more than Maya's weekly grocery bill. The marble floors gleamed, the chandeliers bathed the room in golden light, and a live pianist filled the air with gentle notes. Maya, dressed in her crisp white shirt and black apron, weaved between tables with practiced grace. She had worked here for 3 years, always keeping her head down and her smile steady, even on nights when her feet screamed in protest. But tonight was different. In the corner booth sat Tristan Vance, a man whose reputation preceded him. The tabloids called him the Golden Prince of Real Estate. Maya knew him as the spoiled son of Alexander Vance, one of the wealthiest developers in the country. Tristan had never worked a real day in his life. Money and arrogance clung to him like expensive cologne. She approached with their meals. "Here we are, your Wagyu steak, medium rare." Tristan picked up his fork, sliced off a piece, and frowned dramatically. "This," he said, his voice carrying across the room, "is medium rare to you." Maya kept her tone polite. "If it's not to your liking, I'd be happy to." Before she could finish, he lifted the plate and flung the steak at her. The sizzling meat slapped against her chest, hot sauce dripping down her blouse. Gasps echoed through the restaurant. One of his friends snorted, then broke into loud laughter. Maya's hands trembled, but her voice was calm. "I'll get you another." Tristan smirked. "Don't bother, just get the check." She stood there, the humiliation burning hotter than the sauce, but her dignity remained intact. She met his eyes for a brief moment and said quietly, "I hope someday you find what you're missing." Then she walked away. The next morning, Maya's alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. She dragged herself out of bed, her mother still asleep in the adjoining room. Bills were scattered across the kitchen counter. Her brother's tuition notice sat on top by 10 a.m. She was back at the Gilded Fork for the lunch shift. She didn't expect an apology from Tristan. Men like him didn't apologize, but she didn't expect what came next either. The low, smooth purr of an engine drew the attention of everyone inside. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up outside, its polished body reflecting the sunlight like a mirror. From it stepped Alexander Vance. The man looked like he had stepped straight out of a Forbes cover, impeccably tailored navy suit, silver hair, a face carved by both age and authority. He entered the restaurant and spotted Maya instantly. "Miss, you're Maya?" he asked. His voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. "Yes," she said cautiously. "My name is Alexander Vance. I'm Tristan's father." A few staff members froze mid-step. Even the chef peeked out from the kitchen. Alexander sighed. "My son told me what happened last night. He thought it was funny. I did not." Maya didn't know what to say, so she stayed quiet. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a key fob, and set it on the table. The Rolls-Royce emblem gleamed under the chandelier light. "This," he said, "was supposed to be Tristan's birthday present. I've decided it's yours." Maya's eyes widened. I can't accept." "You can, and you will. This is not about the car, it's about sending my son a message. As of this morning, he's working in our construction division. 6 days a week, no office, no air conditioning. He'll dig, lift, and sweat until he understands the value of dignity. Until then, you drive this." Maya's lips parted in shock. "Why me?" "Because," Alexander said, his gaze steady, "you could have caused a scene. You could have thrown the plate back at him. You didn't. That took more strength than most people have." Later that afternoon, the entire staff gathered outside as Maya sat behind the wheel for the first time. She could see her reflection in the polished hood. Customers stood on the sidewalk, murmuring in disbelief. Inside the Rolls-Royce, the leather was buttery soft, the dashboard gleaming with hand-polished wood. She gripped the steering wheel and exhaled slowly. Alexander stood beside the car. "Drive it home, Maya, and when you pass my son on the worksite, give him a wave." She smiled for the first time in days. Not because of the car, but because somewhere deep down, she knew she had just witnessed something rare, justice that didn't just punish, but taught. And maybe, just maybe, Tristan Vance was about to learn his first real lesson.